Ian, welcome back to Starts Park, welcome back to Raith TV, and welcome back to sunny Kirkcaldy. What's it like out there with the boys today?
Yeah, good. Obviously very warm. I think we're all enjoying the sunshine when we can get it. So to come back for pre-season with this sort of weather, it helps everybody. And there's always been bounce anyway when you come through the doors for first day pre-season. But certainly when you have this sort of climate, it makes life a little bit easier for us.
Did you get away yourself? Here in Kirkcaldy we were a wee bit worried at one point we were going to lose you to a caravan in Broughty Ferry, but did you get the batteries recharged?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had a really good summer. It was good to myself. As I said at the end of last season, it was the first time I've probably felt like I needed a little bit of a break mentally and physically as well, because it's been a long time. But yeah, certainly got around a few different trips and a few different places. A lot of it football orientated as well, as you do with your kids. But yeah, very enjoyable summer, but also great to be back.
Is there a different bounce to it, the fact that you're coming back with a season under your belt?
Yeah, definitely. There's not as big a transition for myself. Of course, last year was pretty hectic, and it was, you go from a disappointment of losing a playoff final that you've worked incredibly hard all season for to suddenly leaving the club out the blue as well, and you have to come in and you've got to try and look at things very, very quickly. This year is a bit easier. We knew what players we had contracted, we knew what players that we wanted to try and keep, and we knew what players we wanted to try and add. So a much smoother summer break for myself, a lot easier in terms of the workload as well, where things were just a bit calmer. Talk
to me about, towards the end of last season we were talking about lots of hopeful new structures, things that we were aspiring to see falling into place. As hectic a summer as I can remember in terms of internal growth, but these structures are now here. How beneficial is it that you're able to take a break and the wheels keep turning?
Yeah, it was great to get it final over the line. It's obviously been talked about for 4 to 5 months prior. It was well documented around Christmas time in the press that we were looking for investment, be that from a party abroad or locally, and it turns out locally was the way forward for us, which is, I think, is probably, in my opinion, is the best way, because they understand the makeup of the club, they understand the local area. It's very important that we had that, and we were all aligned to each other in terms of where we wanted to go. And I wouldn't say the cup final after that we weren't I wouldn't say a poor run, but what we had, we'd done our best, but we knew we were going to take a few bruises in the last few games. But I think the way the players rallied going into that end period was really, really good, and it built a really good sort of vibe around the place in terms of inside the dressing room again. Of course, we've lost a few players along the way, and they've decided to move on, and we couldn't quite get over the line in an agreement together, and that's football. But unfortunately for our short memories in football, once somebody leaves, you try and replace them.
What about these new structures? There were periods, significant periods last season when you were it. You were the man in the middle, the man with the whistle, the watch, the phone, the contracts, negotiating. You were, particularly when Scott moved on, you were in between Mickey coming to give you that extra help. You now have a wealth of people with football and knowledge, football and expertise round about you. How has that helped in our recruitment and retention policy? Yeah,
from my point of view, certainly, Davie, it's been a breath of fresh air. It's a structure that I've worked in before, and I said at the time, people can get a bit scared and fear of definitely when you hear about directors of football and CEOs and managing directors. For me, I was used to this, and I like it. I prefer it, to be quite frank. And that's not to say that I feel like I'm above to do any job. It's more the fact that it lets me concentrate on the important things rather than running around looking at contracts and making mistakes in contracts, all that sort of stuff. So I'm delighted with what we have brought in here. The support I've had from the guys, the whole of the new board since initial talks began, because they were speaking to me very early. Because we see a lot when new boards come in or new ownership comes in. There's a lot of changes, but they were very, very strong in backing me right from the beginning, which is really important as a manager, because again, it lets you have all your energy on to trying to get the best out of your players. So I'm delighted with what we have here. It's an exciting time to be here. We're very open about, we don't have unlimited money or pots of gold, but what we do have is expertise, which is just as good, if not better. We've got the football side, an extra pair of hands helping us. We've got a new physio coming in. We've got a commercial department now, which is getting helped by the new owners, and they know what they're doing. The digital side of it as well, the media side's all just been freshened up a little bit, and we respect what happened before, and we acknowledge how hard it is to run a football club in all aspects, and also the hard work that people put in to get us to where we are today.
I sometimes go away from an interview and I think, you've missed a more basic question? Because when you kick around the football stadium and you build up relationships with people, sometimes you forget the question that the fan who doesn't have these connections would want you to ask. So can we rewind a wee bit, and can you tell us how does a player get identified, and how do you structure an approach between thinking, I think this guy can offer what we need, through to the fact that they're out there in pre-season? Is it have you got a little group of people around about you who trust? Is it Chief Scout? Is it yourself, Mickey? Is it the wider board? How did you put that wants list together?
Yeah, I think it varies from club to club and where you are and who you've got helping you. Certainly for our approach this year is very much a group approach. Final decision is mine, but you ask opinions on people, you ask what they think, because everybody in football has a different opinion, and you might miss something, you might not quite see something that they see. You look at the game differently as well. So to have a group and then you sit down and whittle it down, when you identify your target, again, it depends on the circumstances. It could be a case, if you know the player personally yourself, you can drop a little line in. Certainly our approach is, if that is the case, I duck out very early on now, in terms of financial agreements. Nothing to do with me. I just ask, can we get this player? Simple yes or no. If it's a yes, fantastic. If it's a no, then it's a no. We move on.
Because it was really interesting. I think it was Jack that we were speaking to who'd said, Gaffer's away on holiday, I've not spoke to him yet. It's John who's seen this over the line, but I feel very connected to what the manager's all about. I think there's maybe a shift for us supporters as well. It's one actually that you're ahead of the curve on, just that comfort level of working with John's style. Yeah,
again, everybody's different. I'm very comfortable with it. It's not as if we don't speak on a daily basis and we know what we're doing. So I knew John was speaking to Jack. I feel as a manager, sometimes you need to go and speak to players, depending on their circumstances. But Jack's one we've been watching I've certainly been watching him for 3 or 4 years now, and I was looking forward to him breaking the Livingston team. Didn't quite happen for him. We were a little bit disappointed last season when he went down to Hartlepool, but we knew it was a good opportunity for him, and financially we just couldn't quite get there anyway. This year it's changed again, so things change in football really, really quickly, and Jack was certainly in that mould, and fantastic again from the guys that have came in to go and get that over the line. It's the same with Callum Smith. I know Callum really, really well. Obviously, I've signed this the third time we've signed him, but it was over to the guys to try and get that deal over the line as well.
I think it might have been on camera, but it was possibly just when we were packing up. Our CEO did make a nice wee comment about how often you and John are on the phone. He says married couples don't speak as often as this pair, so it is noted. Let's chat about the boys that have come in. The thing that strikes me, and just as we're setting up the camera, I was asking, it looks like a recruitment drive that's brought in all of your first picks. Would that be fair to say? Yeah, it is. It's not often you can say that. You normally miss out on 1 or 2, but so far we have we identified players that we felt we could possibly get. Some were harder than others, but we've got them so far. There's still 2 or 3 that we want in positions, and again we're not far away on maybe a couple of them, which is the ones we wanted. We had to wait as well. We have to be respectful for teams that are in playoff positions at both end of the league. We have to respect that the SPL was still playing when we were off on holiday. So it just took a little bit of time, but the groundwork was done weeks ago, months ago on some of them. And there's always going to be 1 or 2 that pop up out the blue at the last couple of minutes of the window, and you try to get them in the door. But we feel this year we're ahead of the curve a little bit. We're certainly in a better shape than we were this time last season. So I've been really, really impressed with the work that we've managed to do, and delighted to get all the boys in that we've identified. And as you said, pretty much, we've got all our first picks. Hopefully I've not left anybody off the list, but let's go through them one at a time, and I'm just going to ask you, sum them up in a sentence for me. Let's start with Callum Smith. Yeah, I know Smithy well. I like Smithy's attitude. I know he's had that little black mark against him with Dunfermline, especially coming here, but pleasure to work with. His work rate is just incredible. His appetite for football, and I'm really delighted that we're working together again. Josh Mullen. Yeah, Josh again. His deliveries against us this season were a handful, to say the least. He scored a couple of goals against us. He's won the league 2 or 3 times. He brings a great experience. He can play both sides of the park as well. So just getting that little bit more grit and determination and experience in our forward area. Alongside Josh, probably the player we know most about having kind of locked horns would be Jack Hamilton. Yeah, Jack's obviously record at Arbroath was phenomenal.
also went down south last season, which will put him in good stead for another campaign in Championship. He's an out-and-out 9. That's all he can play, which is great, because sometimes not having too many options is a good thing. So looking forward to working with him. He's a good size. Anything in the box, he'll try and get the end of.
We've just been catching up with our new number 1, Kevin Dabrowski, an infectious character. What does he bring?
Yeah, again, presence. You look at the size of the guy, and it's time now for Kevin to go and play at a level that I think he deserves to play and can play it. He's been at Hibs now for a number of years, 8 or 9 years, not made too many appearances, but he's had a fantastic grounding. Been at Easter Road working under some very good managers. Obviously John knows him very well from his time at Hibs as well. I know him well by having teams playing against him, so looking forward to getting Kevin in, and he'll certainly let his defenders know what he wants.
Dylan Corr is an interesting one. I was swapping some messages back and forward with some of your new board members when his name came up, and kind of get the camera out the bag and get ready for tomorrow. And I'd mentioned that I'd seen Dylan playing against our West Fife neighbours. What was interesting in that was, I think it might have been Andy, it might have been Dean, who says, "Yeah, we've watched him 12 times." Yeah, that's thorough. Yeah.
I mean, I think we all like to take a younger one who's been released from a top league club, if you like, but I think with Dylan, being at a club like Celtic is a very hard place to be as a youngster. Yes, you get looked after very well, but to actually make that breakthrough into the first team is very difficult, and he's going to have to take a step back. I think the biggest thing for Dylan, or what I thought when I spoke to him, was he was so prepared to do that. He sometimes can come out of these clubs with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. Dylan didn't have that. Played with his dad, believe it or not, when we were 15, 16 at Scotland School, so I know what kind of family they are as well. So he's a good size, he's quick, he's good on the ball, so he's going to have to work very hard to get in the team, but he's got all the attributes.
Familiar face, but a new signing, Scott McGill, the utility player. I think, as we spoke in his interview about, it does him a discredit, and then he goes and throws into his interview, "Oh, by the way, I can play as a 10 as well." So tell us, I think we know what we're getting with Scott, but what's your aspirations for him?
Yeah, again, another one that I really like, Scott. I've liked him since the minute we signed him at Airdrie. He scored in his debut. Again, he came in that afternoon, and we stuck him on a wee bit to go, and he puts one in the top corner against Motherwell, so he had a fantastic start. He scored 2 goals this season for us. He's played numerous positions. Without being disrespectful to Scott, because it's not meant in that way at all, he is a player that, in my opinion, can kind of play anywhere, because he just wants to play football, and sometimes these guys are worth their weight in gold. I felt, again, he deserved his opportunity. I felt he showed in the games that he did play at right back or in midfield that he's a good player, and he's going to be a good addition to our squad.
In terms of the boys that have signed on again, Adam, Kieran, Aidan, I believe Liam Dix re-signed. I've not really seen much publicity about that one, right enough. Tell us how happy you are to get them back on board. Yeah, delighted. It's always a nervy time for players when it comes to the end of the season. Contracts are looking to be renewed, but all of those players were very quick in coming back to us and wanting to put pen to paper. I think it helped when they see the structure we're trying to put in place, the environment we're trying to create, the new facilities that we're trying to give them as well, to make them as best as we possibly can. All we asked back from all these boys was 100% and maximum capacity every single day they come in here. We know everybody has their little down days and stuff like that, but over the piece they've been fantastic. I felt every one of them last season performed at a really high level, so it was really important we kept some players, I wouldn't say of the old guard, but from last season, because they need to tell the new players how much of an improvement that they're seeing within the football club. So delighted with every one of them. I noticed that Aidan's got a moon boot on just now. What's that journey back to fitness looking like? He's mentioned it in his interview. So yeah, it's a bit of a blow. There's no doubt. We didn't realise the seriousness of his injury. He's probably played through the pain barrier for us for the last couple of months of the season. Obviously missed out the last few games because it just got too much. So he's going to be 4 to 6 weeks anyway. But Aidan's, we love Aidan. He's been so good for us over the last 2 years. Our top goal scorer on both occasions. He's a strong boy. He works hard on his rehab. He works hard on training. So the 4 to 6 week mark, and I'm sure we'll see him back soon. Another season of you and me debating about who's going to be the chairman of the Aidan Connolly fan club. I still want to have that role. Little genius that he is. Tell us about what's missing from the squad. I'm suspecting a couple of centre halves, maybe some defensive cover. Knowing you, maybe 6 or 7 more midfielders? What have you got your eye on?
Certainly centre halves. We know we're light in that area of the park. We're light in defenders, and we have 4 signed at the moment. So it's definitely an area we are looking at. We're, as I say, talking to a couple of players over the next few days and seeing where we are with them. It'd be good to try and bolster that, in time for the first pre-season game at Linlithgow. We try to find that balance and mix. We've got to find maybe a little bit of experience to help Adam and to help Dylan Corr, because they're obviously young boys who've not played a lot of games in the Championship. So we're very hopeful. We are working hard on it. We would probably like another one as cover on both full-back areas. And as you know, Davie, I like a midfielder, so maybe another one of them.
That. I was interested in your answer there, because when you're saying about experience coming in to help Dylan and to help Adam, it triggers a second question: that are you really looking for this to be their breakthrough seasons?
Yeah, I think Adam in particular, because he obviously got a wee taste of it last year. I felt he'd acquitted himself very, very well. And in hindsight, you look back on decisions that you make, and probably we hung him out a little bit the last game of the season. But as I say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. When we moved Adam into the centre of defence against Partick Thistle, and he was up against Brian Graham, a really top quality striker in this league, he was excellent. I felt he was absolutely superb in the second half. So fantastic season for Adam, winning the Young Player of the Year as well. He said a wee taste, and you always find when young players get a wee taste, they want more and more and more, and it's hard to keep them happy. So looking forward to him getting more time. Dylan as well. We've signed him as a young player that we think we can develop and eventually become a main centre half for us. Who knows what can happen? You come back here and have a good pre-season, do yourself justice in pre-season games, and you're in the team.
Tell us about the loan market. From a manager's perspective, at what point does that come into your thoughts? Is that kind of post pre-season friendlies? Is that when first competitive games? When are you starting to think about that?
It probably comes in towards the end. If I'm being truthful, again, the complexity of it all. Loan players tend to be looking to leave their club during the summer. It takes time because there's a lot of things going on there. Normally on the parent side or the parent club side, unless something fantastic turns up, we want to fill our squad with as many permanent signings as possible. But it is a market we will look at. There's no doubt about it. We have got some younger players in mind for that one, but we'll cross that bridge further down the line.
How are you going to manage this luxurious challenge that you've got of going from one player on the bench and a player sometimes that you're thinking he's carrying a knock, I hope I don't have to bring that one player on, right through to having people battering down that newly painted door saying, come on Gaffer, I want to play? Yeah,
I think last year we did suffer from it. I allude to the Dundee game at home when they bring on 3 really quality players at half time and change our system, and then they give us a really hard second half after we dominated the first half. We didn't have that luxury that evening. I think if we could have done that, we would have won the game, because with the 5 sub rule now, you're bringing on potentially half an outfield team. Gives you energy, gives you tempo, gives you more fitness within the game. And in saying that, it's up to the players as well. The players know already that they're going to be a fight in their hands to be a starter in this team, and standards can't drop. You have to have that little look over your shoulder at times and feel that little bit of danger that you might not be playing. And last year, that we lacked that because we didn't have the numbers, we didn't have the quality that we wanted to come on from the bench. So looking forward to it.
Have you got an added buzz about coming to your work, because we're looking at a season where there's certainly more pressure on you year on year? That's the way football works, but you've also got tools at your disposal that should let us supporters see a more evolved Raith Rovers. Are you feeling comfortable with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to embrace all the challenges that you're given, be that whatever your remit is. I look forward to working with the new players. I look forward to working with the players that have been here already. We've got that year under our belts now where we know each other. You work out their personalities and their physical attributes as well, what they can do, what they can't do, and how much you can ask of them as well. So in terms of the pressure, you're always putting pressure on yourself anyway. You never go out on a football pitch thinking you can't win the game, be it whoever you're playing and how many players you've got. So we go and enjoy it. All you can ask is for an opportunity in this game. Give yourself as good a chance as you possibly can with the right tools at your disposal, and I feel certainly at the moment that I'm getting that opportunity.
The Championship is never an easy division. In many ways say it's a kind of overlooked jewel in Scottish football, actually, given how competitive it is. And this season it moves up a notch with the teams joining and the teams coming down. Are you initially just setting off with that target of top 4? It's all about journey to promotion. Are you going to work quarter to quarter? What's your mindset just now?
Yeah, I think the start season is always a wee bit a wee bit different, a wee bit all over the place, and you're getting a good look at each other. As much as the League Cup gives you a wee indication, it's not the league. It's going to be as competitive as always. It was very hard last year. It's always been hard as long as I can remember it. Obviously Dundee United coming down, bit of pressure on them as well. Obviously Dundee had that pressure last season and prevailed. Airdrie coming up, freshens the league up a little bit as well. But in between that, it's so hard, this league. It's so unforgiving in this league. But we feel, just having players that have got that wee extra year now, Dylan Easton, Scott Browns of the world, with that extra year under their belts with experience, that we look forward to it. We aim, as always, to make our home pitch, a fortress, if you like. We love playing here. We love the backing and the supporters as well. It really helps us. So I think we're all champing at the bit a little bit.
We'll talk about the pre-season friendlies, the kind of pre-match. Only next week. Incredible that we're talking about that. But if I could get a wee bit of word about the League Cup campaign. You told us many times, we've seen it ourselves, we all journeyed to the games, that the League Cup came too early for us last season. You seem in a much better place for it this year, and it's going to be required, because that's an incredibly tough group, and what a great start that we're going to have. A game live on TV against our West Fife neighbours who have come up for the division below. So great start, isn't it? It
is, yeah. It's exciting. The League Cup's a very hard competition. The amount of texts I got off other managers after the draw last week was quite high, saying they've got a really tough group, and pointed out we've all got tough groups, because it's a tough one. My opinion is it's still far too early for us to be going into these competitive games, and there's not a lot of thought process behind it when we have so many midweeks. But look, football's dictated by money now, unfortunately. We have to adhere to what sponsors and TV wants, but we look forward to that one in particular, as Dunfermline will. It's a fantastic start to the season, especially being at home with all the new stuff that's going on here, and Dunfermline getting promoted. It's a chance for the supporters to see both teams for the first time competitively. It's a fixture that Fife needs as well. I know we all like to have digs at each other and our rivals and stuff like that, but there's nothing better than a derby day for whatever team you support. So I'm delighted that they're in our group. We aim to go and win the game. Dunfermline will do the same, and they deserve a lot of credit in how they done last season and how they managed to win League One. But we are definitely in a better position than we were this time last year.
Pre-season games, 4 fixtures. Happy with how that's looking across the next couple of weeks? You happy with the selection?
Yeah, I'm very happy. Obviously we took one quite early. We want to get a game in grass as well against Lithgow. Obviously we know them well from last season, and they're a decent side, and it'll be a good game, and it's a good day out for the supporters as well. We might look further down the line and add one more. We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see. It might be a case if we have any trialists in to get a look at them, and maybe guys that need a little bit of game time as well. But we'll cross that bridge again when we come to it. But yeah, really happy with what we've got. It's very hard because, again, after the cup draw, you get a lot of text because teams have drawn each other that have already penciled in pre-season fixtures, and they don't want to play each other twice. So it's not as easy to manage in the range as people would think.
I can imagine it's a difficult thing. We're still waiting on you to arrange that Conor O'Riordan Trophy fixture down in Crewe, or get us overseas at some point. Ian, as always, thanks for your time. These interviews are always easy to set up because you're so keen to chat and keen to get the word out there to supporters. Supporters have backed the club quite heavily already with the season ticket numbers. I think the enthusiasm levels are more significant than I can remember, and I'm a bit of an old duffer in this game. What would your message be to supporters who are tuning in, social media, interviews, who are kicking about the streets, waiting on the new strip and such like, on behalf of you and your squad?
Yeah, I said last season the supporters have been fantastic to myself and the team. They come out in their numbers every single week, home or away, and it's not easy. And keep going on about it, not to patronise people. The climate that we're all living in financially is very difficult, but football is one thing that we all have in common. We all have one common goal. We want to do as best as we can for Raith Rovers Football Club. We want to try and bring success to the football club and bring happiness to the football club, and certainly I've got a happy bunch of guys out there at the moment. They're out there in that sun, and we do our best to try and win games for them, and we need all their backing.
We're with you.
Thank you. Cheers, Davie.